This podcast is brought to you by Podbean. Podbean is the easiest way to create your own podcast. We use Podbean to host WokeNFree. Download the free Podbean podcast app to start, record, and publish your very own podcast in minutes. Podbean provides everything you need to run your podcast, and you can record and publish episodes directly from the app on your phone.
Download the free Podbean app today. That's Podbean. Head on over to Podbean at www.podbean.com and use the code PODCAST21 for your first 30 days of podcast hosting for free. Check it out. Hi, it's Natasha.
And Khalil.
And we are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 232nd episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every single week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. We are so excited to bring to you our very first Fox Soul monthly review. But before we dive deep into the subject, a couple of things to cover. First, have you downloaded this episode on WokeNFree.com through the Podbean app? If you haven't, please do, because if you do, that's how you put in your comments, which is how you join the WokeNFree Wednesday conversation. And we want you to do that. We need you to do that. Now, if you cannot do that, a couple of tears are shed, but then we ask for you to go to WokeNFree.com, go into the Listen tab, and then pick your platform of choice where you're going to follow and subscribe to our show on any of the platforms we're on. And it's a WokeNFree world. So we're on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, our YouTube channel, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora. It's everywhere. We're everywhere, guys. It's amazing. On WokeNFree.com, you can also click to subscribe to follow the show through the Podbean app, which is really exciting. And then on social, you can always holler on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn at WokeNFree. And if you have 90 seconds, which you do, you're listening to this episode, which is more than 90 seconds. So please go to WokeNFree.com, go in the Listen tab, and pick your platform of choice where you'd like to review the show. Now, I'm going to kick it back to you, Khalil.
Before we start the conversation, we'd like to share a little bit about ourselves. This week, we're asking, would you rather have a sports car with or without a convertible top?
That's interesting. And you're talking just convertible, meaning it moves up and down, not that it has to be like attached or detached, right?
I mean, it could be either or.
That changes my answer. Because if it's detached, then that means that like it has to live somewhere else. It can't go and fold into a thing, right?
That's not true.
So what? No, well, in this scenario, where are we at with that?
It can, I mean...
It's convertible and it can stay with the car?
It'll store with the car, yeah.
It stores with the car?
Yeah.
Okay, then I would say I'd want the convertible.
Because that's how the cars actually are. Like, there are cars like that where they do have tops that come off, but it goes like in the trunk or in the frunk, something like that.
Okay, so yeah, then my answer would be I'd want the sports car with the convertible top that can still be transported with the vehicle.
Oh, you want that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow, so you're very specific on the type of top you've had.
Because I've seen in like 80s movies where they like took the top off and they put it somewhere. And so that's where I was concerned because I was like, but what if it gets cold? Because you know how I feel about the cold. Then you left the top at home and you're out and you're freezing and your hair looks crazy. It didn't make no sense.
But for you, wouldn't you want the top that's like automatic? So you press the button and it automatically stores?
Of course, but I don't know how old or how funky we're going with this scenario. So I just want to make sure.
It could be any type. They don't.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's with the car and it's not like left somewhere else. And if it's with the car, then I'm
so as long as it's with the car, you're okay. Even if it's one that's automatic and you press a button and it automatically goes down.
As long as it's not, I'm not going to have.
And you don't care if it's soft or hard top.
Ooh, interesting question. So I think I prefer hard top because of like, I feel like I might be more warmer with that, but I'm not a car enthusiast. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
And your choice?
Mine is definitely with because it's fun to have the no top and feel that air on your face when you're like going really fast. It's really fun.
Living on the edge, I see.
Yeah, compared to being in a box in a cage and you don't really feel it. The outdoor conditions.
Indeed.
So like if you have a sports car and you gotta really have the convertible, like that's to me a necessity.
Okay.
Like I mean, you could have sports cars like without it, but I think those are ones that are only for the track. But if you have one that you're driving on the road, you need one that's a convertible. Like if there's a choice, definitely the convertible, especially for the new hypercars and stuff. Those are a lot of fun when you have the top down. It's like crazy. So that's what I go with.
Interesting. Okay. And is that all you have to say? You usually have a fun thing, or I can take it you're kicking it to me?
What fun thing?
Transitional statements. Your form of a transition.
You think I do transitions? Wow.
Correct.
I mean, I just keep it real in terms of we were talking about car tops, and I was talking about how you can have the convertibles that are automatic, or the ones that you put away yourself, or you can have soft or hard.
Yep.
And people have different opinions on which one's the best. So what people do is they review those things.
There you go.
So it's very interesting, like that you can review car tops, convertible or not convertible. But have you ever reviewed like a whole network?
There we go. That's where the money's at, guys.
Are you asking about that?
That's the sloppy transition I was looking for.
That's the question.
That was the dance.
I would call it the suave transition, if that's what you're asking about.
Okay. Well, with that layup, I'm going to take it down the court now.
Really? Oh, okay. That was your transition. Great. That was alley-oop thrown? Okay.
1,000%. And as Black content creators, it's really important for us not only to pay attention to and support other content made by us or for our community, but, last year we stumbled across Fox Soul Network, and we thought it would be a really cool and wonderful opportunity for us on a monthly basis to be able to take time during our busy schedule to consume content by us, for us, and then bring it to the WokeNFree Nation. So with that, I think we can kick it off with talking about some of the shows on the Fox Soul Network, and I'm going to pass the ball back to you.
All right. Yeah, we're going to go through some of these series now. And the first series is the Fox Soul's Black Report. And it's sort of what it says. It's a actual report on the trending topics of the day. And it's told by a group of Black folks. So that's why they call it the Black Report. It's kind of like,
you sure about that?
It's pretty straight up, to be honest. They're hitting it right on the nose. That's what it's about. News
by Black people for Black people.
Yeah.
That's the short way. It's Fox Soul Black Report.
Yeah. It is the Black Report. And, it's definitely it's an interesting take because they're gonna talk about the news in a different way than you see on just the mainstream media, I would say. The thing that I would have to admit, but I mean, they do this in mainstream media too, is I can't say that these people are in fact like journalists, because what I find is that they always insert their opinion into the story. So
it's definitely not unbiased. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like if there was a blog and someone was writing on the top on news trends, this is kind of what they would say. It's very
very biased, very, okay.
Yeah. But it's just like CNN and Fox News. It's the same thing. It's not like
they might call themselves journalists, so maybe you're just not a fan of like modern day journalism, which a lot of people do criticize journalism.
Well, because the thing with journalism is they're supposed to tell both sides of the story.
Correct.
So
that's definitely not what you're getting on this show.
Yeah, you don't see both sides where it's like, oh, okay, it's more like this is my opinion, this is right, and I can't feel how you could see it a different way.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like opinion is presented as fact, you would say?
I mean, they're not saying it's fact, but it's like they're not exploring the topic in all its like different
like a holistic
factors.
Approach to it. Okay.
Yeah, it's very like it's one sided. It's almost like when you read a history book.
Well, I like your connection
that
to
great either,
or your mention of a blog, because a blog is very one sided, one viewpoint.
It's similar to a blog. I mean, I like hearing the Black point of view though. It's very,
comforting.
Sometimes I agree with them, sometimes I don't, but. What I think would make this a little bit better is if they added maybe a conservative host that doesn't actually agree with these people. Because the one thing I would say is the group of people, they're great. I like them, but they seem kind of liberal and they're almost always in consensus. Like I don't find one says like, hey, well, did you even like? No one says, did you consider this? Like, there's no devil's advocate.
Really fruitful, and it doesn't make them stretch. And it's important to stretch in ideology and in conversation.
That's the thing that I feel that's like missing from this show. But I do like to get that. like I said, that black point of view that you don't really get it on the mainstream networks.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So, I really love, the FUBU idea, for us, by us. But for this show on the network, again, Foxhole Network, what's missing? I totally agree with what you're saying. A couple of things I would add to it is a global perspective, at least for some of the content I was consuming for this month's episode. I did not necessarily see news delivered beyond the great nation of the United States and, breaking news that we live in a world that is bigger than the United States. So when we talk about black news and the black experience, we need to talk about the black experience globally, because we are the human race that occupy an entire planet. And I need to care and be informed about what's happening in Ghana the same way I need to know what's happening in Georgia. Right. And so we need to,
they're not addressing that.
We need to get a little bit further. So maybe even like adding I love your idea really of adding a conservative perspective to the panel, and then adding that maybe that conservative person does more of the global stuff or chimes in on the global stuff there, right? Because then it really adds a new element to the show. So if you're listening, Foxhole Black Report, FYI, those are a couple of things to keep in mind. Next, I would say is positivity is few and far between when it comes to journalistic approaches. And that, if they're going to do 20 shows, don't you feel like 15 or 18 of them are on a problem or a negative thing versus like having it having a more balance between positive things that are being reported on globally as well as negative, not just like this is a problem. Cause for me, when I hear news, that's why I don't listen to a lot of news, because it weighs my spirit down, because it's always from a problematic
most focus
perspective.
On the issues of the day. Yeah, they don't focus on what was not great that happened.
What went right today, right? What went right in the world? And there's a lot of those stories. It's not just the random kid who helped the elderly person that we need to report on in the month of November. But like, there's good things happening every single month, every single day around the world. So you like them to like make an effort to include the positive stories. Why? Because news, let's not play games, guys. News is curated, right? They're not telling us every breaking news that's happening on the minute by the minute. So if the information is already being curated,
that's interesting.
Let's have a positive and a negative balancing effect, because that's going to impact your viewers and listeners. Because at the end of the day, we know the world has problems, but it's more surprising when you hear more positive things, because you normally don't. So I just think it would be transformative journalism if we curate in a more balanced approach. That's my piece there. And then also my third point to make the show better, Foxhole's Black Report, I would bring in some thought leaders who can chime in on the science and the history of what's being discussed, right? Because contextually, sometimes it's not enough just to talk about the incident, because that's just the transaction. But what's the breakdown that led us to that moment in time for whatever has happened? And usually... All
right, they don't have that. Yeah, that's
and
true.
Usually,
sometimes they bring in experts on other news channels to at least speak on it.
And
so
it gives you context, because then you say, why is this happening? Rarely. Because the journalists are only really equipped to talk about what's happening, but they're not equipped to be able... They're not subject matter experts on what's happening, right? Like, red, green, what is it? Like when they do any of the politics stuff. So redlining, or when they change district stuff, like bring in someone who could talk to that historical point of why that's happening in this country, so that you can then have a more wholesome conversation about the transaction itself and the contextual history attached. Like,
so you want them to get Kamala Harris on here?
That's a fun statement that I'm not addressing.
Okay.
But we hope you enjoyed that, WokeNFree Nation. All right. So there's more to come. Again, we're gonna come on here and we're gonna do this again. Hopefully, Foxhole, you're listening, you're tuning in, and you're taking notes, guys. What's next on docket?
The next is TGIF. Because this show, I guess, is trying to be a play on spilling the tea, because it's definitely sort of a gossip show that you just...
That part.
Yeah, you just gotta go off. Like, this is fully opinionated. Like, there's not... You're not trying to see both sides of the story.
Just the tea.
Yeah, this is you saying, "Oh, did you hear what happened, girl? It was crazy." That's...
what this show is about, if you know what I mean. You know, Shantae type
you better
things going
listen.
on.
You better work it.
This is that type of show. That's what I'll say about it. To me, I won't want to say it's a hot mess, but I will say it is a little mess. Like,
so the tea was a bit too much for you.
Because whenever I watch this, it just, I can't stop. I have to laugh. Like, it gets too
it's
funny
hilarious.
because
it's hilarious.
Yeah, just some of the opinions said it's
wild.
It's over. They go a little bit overboard. Like, yeah,
1,000%.
But I think that's maybe the purpose of it is to be funny. And what's interesting is sometimes there will be interesting points that they make on these hot topics they discuss. But, you know, in general, this is just like a fun show. So you watch this when you're just kind of having fun, and and on this show, they often ask, like, what are you drinking? So that kind of gives you the gist on what they're about to talk about. They're like, hey, what are you having to drink tonight? You know, they always ask that. But, you know, on here, they do discuss politics and trending news and celebrity topics. So yeah. It's a little variety.
So I just to summarize, I completely agree with what you're saying. I would say that the thing about content is content doesn't just have to live within one space. That we, you know, similar to the human experience, is a very complex experience. So even within celebrity gossip, within hot trending topics, it doesn't have to just be the tea that needs to be spilled. Like you could have a more educated and entertaining conversation. At least that's what we do here at WokeNFree. So you know, I would say that yes, this is a lot of fun, but I don't necessarily know if it's moving the movement forward, if you know what we mean when we say movement. The movement of Black consciousness and Black thought.
I don't know if that's the purpose of this show, right?
So I don't think it's contextually built for that space, but, you know, one has to wonder, whenever we do have Black content, does it always need to be conscious, or, you know, should it not? Like, you know, it's a very interesting question to ask. So, you know, we'll have to see, you know, in the next month's review, if we watch it again, if we have any thoughts or updates, we'll see. We'll bring it to y'all and talk about it. We'll tune in.
Continue to watch to see what's going on here. See, you know, any differences that are happening. And the next show we're talking about is The Book of Sean.
That part.
And I'll just be honest, I can't really get into this show. I've tried a couple of times, but the issue that I have is, I don't know, the host to me seems to be a little bit pompous, and the sarcasm, it really just comes off like he's above it all, rather than like the funny sarcasm that I love, because I'm really into sarcasm, but I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way. But it's crazy too, because I actually think the topics on his show are kind of interesting. Yeah. And I do like that he has an advice segment on here where he gives viewers thoughts on a situation they're having and how to solve it. Yeah. It's just that I'm not really into the host, right? So this is not the show for me, but maybe other people would like it. And this show does have like a little religious spin on it. I believe he is a reverend or a pastor. I mean, I can't say. He's faith-based, yeah. And I think he may have a doctorate, right?
I believe so, because they called him Dr. Sean.
Yeah, because I did hear that before as well. So, you know, some people might like that about him. So it's something.
It's speaking to a certain audience for sure.
I wouldn't say just skip it. I'd say check it out, see if you like it. If he doesn't rub you how he rubbed me, I mean, great. But for me, I don't know. This is a tough show to watch.
Okay, so I agree with you. It was really challenging to get through an episode. I completely agree. I felt that the host was extremely condescending, and I'm not quite sure why, because the content shared was neither enlightening nor did it resonate with me. So it's kind of like, you know, similar to you. It's like, you know, I'm above it all, but it's like, above what? It's like, I was left feeling, wondering why this show exists. That's the only question that came to mind.
Well, but because the thing is, he's trying to help people out with problems that, I mean, technically you could help them too, because I know you'd have advice. I'd have advice too, but sometimes your advice would be good. But it's things where people don't like. I don't know. People don't. They need somebody to weigh in. But the funny thing is, it's usually a question where it's like, if you thought about it, you could actually figure it out on your own. I felt
the same way too.
And then the problem is like, it's kind of like he goes in and says, "Wow, you didn't know to do that." Yeah. everyone does that. Come on now. It's similar to like things like that. He'll just laugh at certain stuff. It's like, all right, man. I mean,
like I'd rather go to Barney to ask for advice.
I know they may be asking a question that seems simple, but since you're having it on the show, you need to actually address it as like, be a little bit serious with it.
Yeah.
Don't act like it's just like a joke. Then why did you choose that question then to answer if it was like such an easy thing? It's weird to choose that and then just laugh about it. Like, and say so matter of factly, oh, you didn't do that? I mean, come on. Everyone knows the answer to this.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know if I'm going to come back to that one. We'll see in our next review.
Not my fave. Mm-hmm. And the next show is actually my fave show on this network, and it's called The Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack. Okay. And I've looked up a little bit of Tammy Mack. She's actually like a radio host, and she's been doing that for like years and years. So this is kind of her like wheelhouse. So in this show, what she does is she discusses different topics, but she brings on guests with various views, and they're usually like really different views. They're not people who resonate with each other, and it's really great because you get to see different sides of the conversation. And then sometimes she gets kind of like subject matter experts on there as well. So you really get to hear what's going on, and not just like, it's not just basically someone's opinion. These people will have data too. They'll bring that up. They'll bring up statistics, and it actually sometimes reminds me of our podcast because just because of that, the research that's being done, it's not just the randomness of someone's thought. So it's really cool. And they go over crazy things like, you know, abortion. They'll go over
crazy things.
Yeah.
That's just crazy things.
Yeah, crazy town. It's, you know, hot topics.
I wouldn't start off saying that, but I hear you.
Okay, I mean,
you mean like a little bit like, well, I think topics that irate people, right?
Yeah, it's like, sometimes taboo topics that people don't want to talk about.
Correct.
They really go in, you know, stuff like that. And let's see, another one that I like is, should drugs be legalized as the topic? But then if you watch it, it gets more into detail on what it's about, but it's like she has some interesting topics, but the guests are really good.
Cool guests. Okay.
Yeah, I like the guests because they will have that conservative view, and I love black conservatives. I love them so much because they will say some things they're good on and it makes you think, but some other things it's like, hey guys, that doesn't make any sense. like you're just being funny right now. Like no,
I don't think they want to be, but
they do that. So I mean, but she does have like, you know, middle of the road people too, not just like these super liberal people who just like, oh man, everything has got to be shared and cared.
Yeah. So I agree with you.
It's different. I like this show.
Yeah, I would say to me of all the content so far consumed, and there's a lot on this network, guys. So definitely check it out. You can find the link on WokeNFree.com. This, I would agree with you, definitely resonated more with me because I love conversations that are thoughtful and entertaining. I don't think it needs to be one or the other. So I really struggle with content that it lives siphoned off like, it has to be entertaining only or educational. No, like, let's merge the two. And I agree with you. Bringing on subject matter experts that come from different walks of life and have different perspectives really lends for a more fruitful conversation. It doesn't make sense to just have everyone be in alignment with each other or not be able to add a new element to the conversation. So I definitely would recommend folks check this show out on the network. And I'm looking forward to seeing more topics discussed.
Yeah. And I should mention that she starts off every show with why should black people care about the topic, and she makes the guests go around and answer that question. Yeah. So that's really good too. That's super cool. Why should we care about this topic, right? Like,
and it's a good
why does it matter to the black community?
Why is it important to us? Is that question even being asked on other mainstreams? No,
never. It's like, why does this concern black people? But no, they would never ask that. That's too much. Next show to review is Cocktail with Queens. And this show, I like that the women, they're all actually different. And again, these women have different points of view. And what they do is, I mean, it's almost similar to the TGIF show where they talk on random topics. The thing is, I don't know if they would actually hang out with each other. They seem a little like, hey, you know, I won't see you later because
I won't see you.
Yeah, later. I'm going to go do my own thing. But I like that. It shows black people in a different light, like not just thinking all the same. That's the kind of shining light on this show. Yeah.
Okay. I would say I completely agree with you in that the show seemed a bit awkward. The chemistry between the hosts seems a bit off. They don't really seem to feel like they're friends or that they even enjoy doing the show together.
See, that's messed up right there. Come on.
I'm just like a little confused. You know, the host, I like her, but I'm very confused.
And the host. Like, the main. Oh, are you talking about all the hosts or the main host?
The main host.
Because the main host does the other show too, the TGIF.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was the chemistry. So for me, I'm challenged by it because the content then becomes subdued, and I think less about that, and I'm more like, why are these random women talking to each other? It's super weird.
It's fun though because they're so different from each other.
They are, but I feel like I would have seen more enjoyable conversations on a train in New York than how these women are. I mean, I don't know, when the women, when co-host energy is off, it totally shifts the vibe of like what's being discussed. And it's all
female. You should love that.
I do love that as a feminist. I really do love that. But I would say what I'd love to then see is maybe a little bit more storytelling of each of these women. I don't even know all the women on the show. Like I know Lisa Ray and I know Vivica Fox, and that's like,
that's the name.
Those
of course
are
you know
the two
them,
women, but I don't really have contextual understanding of the other folks on the show. So,
but they can't do that every episode.
Not in every episode, but finding opportunities where, again, it's curated content that they're putting together, and they could put more graphics on the screen.
Yeah, to just show this person
like that, just a little bit more cohesiveness because they're so disjunctive in their energy that I think they need to hone in on finding ways of connectivity to make it more enjoyable for the audience.
Okay, fair enough. The next show and last one that we're reviewing is Hollywood Unlocked with Jason Lee Uncensored. And what I'll say is this show reminds me a lot of E! Show or actually like TMZ, where the focus is on celebrity gossip. And you know, this is honestly not my cup of tea. I'm not so into those shows. Like I've watched them sometimes in the past, but never like religiously or just consistently. So it was really hard for me to get into this. I tried to watch a couple episodes and it wasn't like clicking with me. It was just, I don't know, it's too far removed for me. I'm not so much into
the celebrity.
Just celebrity. Like I can hear like a little bit about them, like, oh, you know, this person's having a baby this week again, but that's about it.
You're a mess.
That's the only thing. Cause I just want to hear that one sentence and then we move on. I don't want to get into the details.
Throwing shade.
Yeah, I didn't say a name.
Y'all know who he's talking about too.
I'm just saying shade. That kind of stuff is like, I don't need.
That's a canon of
I don't need a whole episode. Oh wow, that was really secretive of you. I can't even guess who you were talking about. No way. Then that really fit too. That was a perfect word choice.
Oh my.
Okay, I don't know what that means. Yeah, exactly. I've never heard that phrase. Like that phrase
coming
never
up
been
with
said.
Original things on air. It's phenomenal.
I mean, that's different. That's all I'll say.
Just like the show.
Yeah. And then, well, I'll say there's this one episode I watched because what I did is I went to like a video on demand and I just looked at like the first episode that they had on there. Yeah. And the problem with this episode, I don't like when people do this. So they aired an episode where I guess he had some beef with somebody. But the problem is
Jason Lee. Okay.
Yeah, Jason Lee had beef with this person who I think hacked his website or something.
Oh, wow.
But he didn't want to go into like what really happened. He said just go find it on YouTube. And I'm like, and then he just proceeded to talk about this and like go in and it was like, so you know, I'm a black business and but
storytelling.
I hate that when people are like, hey, go and find out more about this on some other thing.
Well, you know what they want? They want the clicks and they want the,
but he didn't even like at least
give a detail to give you.
He didn't say go to my YouTube and I have this video here and you'll learn all about it. It was none of that. It was just kind of like, you find out why I'm about to go on a rant, right? It's like, all right.
So he just went into the emotion instead of like giving people the context of what was needed.
Yeah, and maybe it's bad on me. I should have said, okay, let me actually do that. But I tried to listen to the episode and I'm like, I can't feel this because I don't even know what's going on. Like, you're talking about different radio networks and bringing in these other people and then you're throwing shade at people. I'm not going to say all the shade he was throwing, but it was weird because it was like, you didn't explain the beef. I mean, maybe people knew about it. And I think this was from like a year ago too. So I don't know what was going on, but I don't like when people do that. I like you said, I like to have kind of like a summary of what's even going on. Like just a tiny bit. Maybe there's a blurb. Maybe he could have thrown like a link. Go find this here. Because the problem, because even like years from now, that episode won't make any sense at all, right?
Of course not, yeah. All right. So the only thing I would add here to Hollywood Unlocked with Jason Lee Uncensored is that I don't, to your point, I'm not particularly moved or like shocked by celebrity gossip. I think I enjoy it a little bit more than you. But for me, what I would say is most meaningful contextually for our community, especially as, young Black professionals are trying to make their way in this COVID world that we're living in, is sharing information as to how people can better themselves. And I know that, maybe this show isn't within the conscious space that I'm talking about, but there's always, I feel, a way to make people more conscious or to better people's lives in whatever the context of what you're doing, even from a comedic or from a celebrity perspective. So what this show could have been is sharing celebrity interviews with celebrity guests on how they became a celebrity, or 5 ways to get to the next level in your fame, or how to be an influencer. Like, I would have just rathered a little bit more context around like meaningful information in conjunction with celebrities.
Well, I might have been more interested in that, to be honest with your sake.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, to
that
me,
was there, then I might have been more interested.
I would love to see 15-minute sit-downs with Morris Chestnut and Denzel and, Jamie Foxx, or, talking to celebrities about the stuff that maybe they aren't sharing on other platforms, and also getting into the real and the having uncomfortable conversations with celebrities. Maybe they said something, maybe if you wanted to go into the tea, and maybe they said something that was controversial, bringing them onto the platform and having a real conversation, an open space for people to be seen and heard. Like, I feel like there would have been there's so many different ways you can go about chatting with celebrities that brings people in, and it doesn't just have to be about spilling tea. Like, there's just more to celebrities than that. And I personally feel like they say that too. Like, why are you asking about my family? Or why are you doing that? Like, ask them about stuff they want to talk about, or things that are going to better your audience. You don't
want to hear about like why they sold their house though, or something? And why they're...
But did they get into real estate? Did they start... Is that a part of how they grew their fame from, how they went from $400 to $400 million? Like, yes, I think people are interested in understanding how they can better themselves. And if you can do that from the lens of a celebrity, that's like double cool. Because then, again, when you see that person, you can see yourself, right? The human experience is a lived experience. We live through each other and representatives of each other. So when a person who was not a celebrity 20 years ago is now buku rich, how did they get there is your guidebook and guideline for how you can get there too. And I feel like people would have been really interested in that. I know I am tantalized by that whole idea. So,
but, I mean, yeah, we are, but I'll just put out there, he got a lot of following on social media and stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah. Jason Lee seems he is.
So he's doing his thing.
He is winning.
There's definitely a group of people that follow him, and I like the hustle, so I respect the game.
I respect that hustle.
I just don't have to be, one of your viewers, right?
Yeah, listen, I hope he's really successful. And to your point, we're reviewing the show from our perspective.
People might love this type of stuff.
WokeNFree Nation, you all can feel how you want to feel about each of the shows we talked about. What we do ask is that you do your due diligence and you go check out Fox Soul Network.
But you should check it out. Yeah.
We're excited about it, and we wanted to share our thoughts, but it is absolutely our thoughts, and we'll leave it at that for folks.
Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time, guys. Scenario 1. Natasha found a kindred spirit who happens to like a trashy celebrity news channel. Should Natasha start watching the same show?
Found a kindred spirit who happens to like a trashy... So you're talking about... Oh, like a friend who
the friend watches it, but it's more than a friend. Kindred spirit. That's someone who's like very endearing to you, I guess.
Wonderful.
Come on, you love that kind of stuff.
Amazing.
Exactly. See? That's your cup of tea.
I bet it is.
Yeah. Serving the hot tea.
So, But is this in lieu of like making money or like doing something productive? Like, I just want to understand contextually.
If you find someone who's like your soulmate, do you do the same things that they do, basically?
I guess I would say yes, with a caveat of if it's taking a time that could have been used for productivity for something else that would better each other's lives, then no. But if this is within your free time that you've marked out in your day and you want to do that, then yes, as long as it, like I said, it's not getting in the way of like you starting that business, writing that book, building that, all sorts of other productive ways you can spend your time in life.
All right. So you said it's okay as long as it's not
a distraction.
Okay. And I would say that she probably should not watch the show. If she's not into trashy show just because you found someone who's like really similar to you, I don't think that that's the reason you should watch the show. You should really think about it for yourself. You shouldn't just say, you know what, I'm going to do it since she does it. So, and when I say start watching, I don't mean just like she can always just watch one episode to see maybe she likes it, but it's like people who kind of force themselves to do things that they don't like just because one of their best friends are doing it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, don't continue to watch it if you don't like it, right? If you don't enjoy it, don't do it. Though that's my take.
Cool.
Scenario 2. Kumathi asked Kavita to join him in the comments section for a live webcast series that has been running for the past 2 years. Kavita doesn't really enjoy commenting on shows where people share their opinions. Should Kavita join Kumathi to support the show he enjoys, or just write random comments so Kumathi doesn't question her?
So to your point, I think having autonomy over what you consume and the actions you take in your life is a part of a WokeNFree existence, and it's a part of doing things that are in alignment with what makes you feel good, and it's not going to make you have regret. So you should never do anything that you don't enjoy unless that is a stretch for you and it's going to be that personal or professional development that you need, right? Sometimes we do have to get uncomfortable, but in this case, it doesn't sound like there's going to be great value here unless, but life is so interesting, right? Because sometimes you could put a comment and it could blow up and then it leads to other opportunities for you. So it's so challenging, but I would say contextually without understanding more. So if there's no impact for professional or personal development, then no, not do it.
Yeah, I think if you're not into writing these comments, I don't think you should just be peer pressured into doing it and give in. So she should just say, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. It's just, that's a trigger for me or something. Because, we're in this lightweight world. We can't do things that trigger us. That's what she could say.
Good Lord.
This is the featherweight world. We're triggered very easily.
You are so freaking funny.
That's what she could tell him.
A mess. A hot mess you are.
That's what you gotta do. Scenario 3. Siobhan was asked to join her friend's show discussing whether abortion should be banned. Siobhan is afraid that if she joins the conversation, it might get heated and she will lose her temper and go off on the other guest. Should she still join the show knowing that she has a short temper?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. So this actually does imply that there's an opportunity for personal growth here because having a temper as a person who, I grew up with seeing angry Jamaicans quite frequently. I would say that, it's important to understand your triggers and it is important to be able to flex and stretch, and also to know your limits. But when we deal with people, we need to learn to be able to hear opposing thoughts and not turn into violent banshees. That is really important to do that no matter where you live in this world and no matter who you are in this world. We've got to find, and I believe we're going to be talking about that value of agree to disagree. So, I would say actually, even though Siobhan thinks that she has a short temper, this might be an opportunity of growth for her, and she should join because at the end of the day, she might be surprised. Maybe the opposing opinion isn't as infuriating as she fears it may be. And also maybe she'll hear something that may make her think differently because as you know, I am a hardcore liberal. So I have my perspective on abortion and freedom of right to choose what you need to do in this world. And yes, I get people have different perspectives, but you have to be able to hear other people out. Your way is not the only way.
And you shouldn't blow up on them, or you should blow up on them?
No, you're not. You should not blow up on them. You should hear them out. And if you have questions and if you want to understand why folks are saying and doing what they're doing, ask them the questions. Keep the emotions at bay and dive deep, right? Why is it that the person believes a different belief than you? What motivated them to arrive at that conclusion? Go deeper, hear people out, double down on the hearing and listening instead of the emotional triggered responses.
Yeah, I think she definitely needs to go on this show, and if she has the short temper, it's going to be really funny to watch. So
you're a shame.
I hope that she explodes on the show, to be honest.
You're a real mess.
Because that will get a lot of
it's gonna
viewers.
Go viral.
It'd be very exciting to watch her just lose her cool and just say,
you are a mess. Yet you don't want to watch the tea. You are a mess. But
this is different because they're talking about a hot topic, and it's very specific, and it's super opinionated, and nobody's right or wrong, so it's real fun.
Okay, so that's the tea that you're all about.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
This would be exciting to watch. So please, Siobhan, join that conversation.
You hope this happens, and you hope that you have popcorn nearby.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I do that. Yeah, I like to watch this stuff.
You're here for it.
Hey, at least I used to be an instigator. I don't do that anymore, but I used to instigate stuff. Like this.
I wonder why you stopped. Yeah.
I used to do this and I used to enjoy it, but I stopped doing that.
Yeah,
so
that was your pre-WokeNFree days. Yeah.
But it was too funny. I mean, there were some funny times in the past. That's all I could say.
I bet there were.
Definitely funny times.
We are at that time again, thank God. It is coming to the end of our 232nd episode of WokeNFree. We are so excited that we did our first Fox Soul monthly review. And so we cannot wait to hear what your thoughts are on this topic, on the show, on the network. Please, again, click on the links that you find on WokeNFree.com so that you can check out the network yourself. You can check out all the shows that we mentioned, and then you definitely come back for our, subsequent conversations, because we are really interested in diving into this space of content, because as Black content creators, it is important not only to consume and produce, but also to have conscious conversations around it as well. So we hope folks enjoyed it, and we can't wait to hear from them. What do they need to do now?
Come back next week for the new WokeNFree Wednesday episode. Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along the conversation, and make sure you tune in next week for WokeNFree Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
Absolutely. If you are a guest, if you want to be a guest on the show and or submit a topic that you feel like we need to talk about, go to our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That's WokenFree.com. For social, I shared our handles again, but you can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, and LinkedIn at WokenFree. And for sponsorship or collaboration ideas, same page, Contact Us page at WokenFree.com.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do, share the episode, and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for WokeNFree Wednesdays. Remember, WokeNFree is more than a podcast, it is a way of life. Until next time.